from the middle of nowhere again. I'm finally in a place where I can talk to a camera and you wouldn't hear the background noise of the city. I'm in one of the remote districts near the Warsaw. This is a mixed forest. I've been here before during the autumn. We were cycling with my brothers through this exact forest and this exact route. I would say that every season has its own nice properties. This is hidden lot for animals. There are a lot of footprints on the snow of different kind. Maybe they will come at night. There's a rule that you should not let your dog loose in the forest, so they wouldn't attack other people or hunt down animals. And for the national parks, usually it's even prohibited to go there with a dog. If we talk about the city, in Poland there are no stray dogs at all inside of the city. At some point they all were caught and eliminated. And this reminds me of a story from the childhood. We used to live in a big flat buildings in a block, and there was a basement. And in our area we had two dogs, Jack and Jesse, they were called. As a kids we were playing all the time with those dogs. They knew us well. Some kids were very attached to them. And at some point Jessie became pregnant and she gave birth to, I don't know how many exactly, but about 10 puppies. She did that by going down to the basement of this building, because somewhere there was an area where the pipes were warm. Somehow we kids discovered this and we started stalking into the basement. We were too big to enter from the same small window the dogs did, so we had to go from the human entrance and then to crawl and walk in dark corridors, meandering below the building. It was the actual stalking, so we were crawling on the pipes. We had to cross several rooms that were like a labyrinth, but it was very exciting for a kid. It was just important to remember the path and not touch anything that could put your eye off. And we managed to get from the entrance of the basement to the middle point of this building where Jessie, she was feeding her puppies. So we started bringing food and water to the puppies. Look, here they have a viewpoint to watch the forest, probably. I can see the big moose over there, a big deer. Looks like a moose. Anyway, back to the dogs. We were playing with the dogs. Each kid sort of had his own pet he was responsible for. But at some point, adults realized that we were doing this and tried to shoo us away from there. The final episodes that I remember were that not all puppies managed to survive. Only 3 out of 10 managed to actually survive. For those 3, it was a success story because they started living in the same area. Jack and Jesse left the area, but these puppies, they replaced Jack and Jesse, and we witnessed the change of generations of this dog family in our courtyard. They were definitely stray dogs, and this story wouldn't be possible here in Poland. It would never happen because no stray dogs in Poland. But it was possible there in Ukraine, and it was a big adventure for us and a big memory to carry to the future. Adventures that are a little bit more crazy than you would expect. They are possible in such places as Ukraine, but probably not possible in such places as Poland, where everything is over-regulated. This over-regulation, yes, it is supposed to save people, protect them from certain circumstances, but it also removes a lot of life from life, you know. My story was about dogs, but this applies to everything. The other day we discussed that it's not allowed to set a camp in the forest in Poland unless in specifically restricted areas. And even if you do, you are not allowed to set a fire. Only in even more restricted areas. You are not supposed to swim in rivers in many places. You cannot take a dog with you to many places. So a lot of restrictions like that. Some of them are good, some of them are just limiting and show that this overregulation takes us out from the natural world. Of course, there are not so many places left and we should protect them, but we shouldn't be over-regulating the interaction with these places, because then what's the point of having them at all? Talking about dogs again, I have other example which is not positive, because for instance I've got bitten by a dog just walking in a less known district, and it was far from the pleasant experience. Turned out that it was a dog who had puppies as well, and she was protecting them, and she thought that I am trying to get closer to the puppies, and she bit me. But now that I remember the story about Jessie and her puppies, she never tried to discourage us kids from interacting with them, probably because we were known to her and she recognized us as part of the tribe. In this case, I was the outsider just crossing. So regulation of stray dogs is definitely not over-regulation, I would say. But still, this is an example of how things which we try to over-regulate can bring positive experiences along with negative, and how by over-regulating them we sort of cut off every aspect of it, positive and negative. Because my story about these stray dogs and their puppies is more like an extreme example, but another story about wild camping is a normal example. There is a military polygon over there, and in the other side I was passing by, so I can hear the shooting from time to time. As they say, if this is not what you want to be doing during the weekend, and do not call me. And talking about Poland, people are allowed to camp in camping areas and in so-called districts for spending night at the forest. But still, this is not the real camping to my mind. If you cannot make a fire, spend the evening with your friends watching the fire, which is like a basic need of human beings. This is stored somewhere in our DNA as the most primitive desire, which calms the thoughts, brings relaxation. And here we just allow humans to be humans, to experience those things that our ancestors used to do every day and to find comfort from. So this is what I'm thinking when I'm working in the forest. Let me know what you are thinking about. Like, subscribe to the channel. See you the next time. Bye.